Welcome back, deep divers. Ready to explore what's bubbling beneath the surface of the global economy?
Always ready to dive in. Let's see what we can uncover.
Today, we're focusing on Europe specifically, what the global financial outlook means for them. And we're diving deep into this article that really lays it all out. It's fascinating stuff, really gets you thinking. We're talking interest rates, global competition, technology, it's all connected.
It's like trying to predict the weather, but instead of clouds and wind, we're looking at interest rates and trade deals.
Exactly. And speaking of interest rates, the article jumps right into this puzzle about what's happening globally. Central banks are making some interesting moves, right?
Yeah, it's unusual. Unlike past recessions, where everyone seemed to be on the same page with rate cuts, it's a mixed bag this time. Some countries are raising rates, some are cutting, some are standing pat.
So what's driving this? It's like every country is playing its own tune.
Well, a lot of it comes down to debt and growth prospects. Take Japan, for example. Their debt-to-GDP ratio is astronomical, over 450%.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine owing more than your country produces in a year?
It's the tough spot to be in. It forces them to keep interest rates low to manage that debt, even with inflation looming. And they're not alone. A lot of developed economies are grappling with similar issues.
It's like this high wire act with no safety net. But debt aside, this article highlights a trifecta of challenges for Europe. We've got slowing global trade, geopolitical instability, adding fuel to the fire, and, of course, the rapid pace of technological change. That's a lot to deal with.
And for Europe, which is heavily reliant on trade, that slowdown is especially worrisome. If trade weakens, their economy feels it.
It's like a domino effect, right?
Exactly.
And there's probably no better example than what's happening in the European auto industry right now. They're facing some serious headwinds with Chinese electric vehicle makers stepping on the gas.
The auto industry is a fascinating case study because it really highlights this larger shift towards technological dominance.
You mean like who controls the future of things like electric vehicles and artificial intelligence? Because that's where the power lies, right?
It's not just about tanks and missiles anymore. It's about who holds the keys to the technologies that are shaping the 21st century.
And this is where the article paints a somewhat concerning picture for Europe. They're lagging behind in the tech race, and it's going to take a massive investment, something like $800 billion to catch up.
It's a steep climb, no doubt. And it raises some tough questions about where that money will come from and what it means for other priorities.
Right, because you can't just print $800 billion. Something's got to give. So let's zoom out for a second. We've got this complex global financial picture with the U.S. potentially holding onto its economic dominance, Europe facing an uncertain path forward, and China potentially navigating some bumps in the road. It's enough to make your head spin.
What's important to remember is that these are all interconnected, and it's not a zero-sum game. How one player acts impacts everyone else.
That's a really good point. It's like a giant chess game with really high stakes. And speaking of high stakes, as we wrap things up today, here's something to ponder. If Europe does decide to make this massive tech investment, what gets left behind? Education, healthcare, infrastructure. Tough choices. Something tells me we'll be revisiting this in the months to come. For now, though, keep exploring, keep asking those insightful questions, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.